Good evening once again. The most interesting part about a big panel is that we get a diverse set of opinion, and I'm sure we'll do the same. But another thing that happens is when one person speaks, the rest of the 14 tends to get bored. So let's not do that. What we'll do is, instead of me asking each one of you an individual question, if you find a point that is relevant to you and you want to answer that, please join in. And that's how we can keep this conversation interactive. Serve to sell, powering growth with relevant audiences. That's the topic for our day. Before we start, let's have a quick introduction round. And I think a trend that had started in the Bangalore edition, where after you introduce yourself, you just reveal a fun fact. It may not be true entirely, but it can be fun, or it can be true and not that funny either. So we'd like to start with you, so at the far end.
I'm trying to remember a fun fact about me. Hi, I am Supratik. I head the marketing of Lupin, a consumer healthcare business. I'm with Lupin for last 3 years. Prior to that, I worked primarily, my entire career is in the FMCG consumer business. I worked in Dabur, I worked in Imami, I worked in Piramal Healthcare. Fun fact, I don't know, I think I'm a Formula One follower, and that's why I think whenever I ask my colleague to come in the car with me, they usually avoid that.
Wow, need for speed.
Yeah. Hey guys, I'm Amit. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer for Wonder Chef. Prior to I have been with Wonder Chef for last year now. Prior to this, I was with Godrej Appliances, was heading their digital arm, and before that, I was a traditional marketer. So the transformation was kind of, let's say, over last 3-4 years, where I have moved from traditional to digital. The fun fact is from the consumer in me, basically, I get so irritated with so many ads that I get on my phone, on my desktop for that matter. I have developed a banner blindness. As a consumer, it kind of sounds like a fun, probably as a market, it's cause of concern for all of us. So yeah.
Great. We'll remember the fun facts till the end of this session. Please go on.
Hi, I'm Francis. I work with HDFC Life. I kind of manage the P&L on the self-source business and digital marketing at HDFC Life. I've been with the company for 12 years now. The fun fact about me is that I think when I'm kind of involved, I tend to be absent-minded. So I was busy on a call when I kind of decided to come to this meeting, and I happily entered Trident instead of Sofitel. And then I'm wondering, this doesn't look right. And it's only that's when I realized that I need to kind of, luckily the two hotels were very close by.
Great. Next.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm Nazif Tejani. I'm here from Bestseller India. I've been with the organization for almost 4.5 years. I lead CRM marketing alliances and marketing technology for the brands, Jack and Jones, Veramoda Only, and Selected I have worked previously with Flipkart, with House of Anita Dongre. And the fun fact is I actually stumbled into data-led marketing completely by accident, and I discovered I was quite good at it, and it's something that I really like doing. So here I am.
Wow, interesting.
Hi, I'm Sujay. I head marketing for Nuama Group, the erstwhile Edelweiss Wealth Management. I spent a lot of my time in communication and marketing. Fun fact about me, something related to the F1 lover out there, but I am an off-roader, and every time that I see someone misbehaving on the roads, I just want to kind of go on them. It's much nicer that way.
Those bikes and autos typically.
Wow.
And I think I would love to kind of experience that one day without the implications of it, though.
Yeah, Prajakta is here. She'll, I think, join us soon. She works as AVP marketing for MyGlam. Whenever she comes, she'll join. Over to you.
Hi everyone, my name is Abhishek. I'm part of the Airtel team. I've been with Airtel for about 4.5 years now, and I've looked after various product roles between B2C and B2B. Currently, I head a product called AirtelIQ, which is our CPaaS offering. Yeah. Fun fact about me, I spent about 18 years of my life, college and later in Bombay. Recently moved for Airtel to Gurgaon. my wife is still vacationing in Gurgaon as she's living in Bombay. She's been there for 4 years, but any opportunity she gets to come back, she will, right? So I think the love for the place is very strong. Bombay sort of grows on you. It's tough to leave this as a city, and so that's what I'm going through now.
Great. I'm Anirban Roy Chaudhary. I work as assistant editor with ET BrandEquity. Fun fact, I use all the brands out here. The custodians of those brands are here, so I know where to complain whenever something goes wrong with the brand. Over to you.
Hi guys, I'm Vignesh Narayan. I work with Abhishek and I head the product for at the ads business. Fun fact, I've been with Airtel for 2 years now, and prior to that I was in London working for another ad tech company there. Fun fact is, over the last 12 years I've moved 7 countries and 12 houses. So my wife doesn't want to move anymore, so that's one challenge. But I've become quite a nomad of sorts. Yeah.
Wow, traveler. Please.
Hi, I'm Sanket. As you can see, I work for PhysicsWala. It's an edtech startup. I think I have about 10 plus years of experience into edtech and education industry, mainly into branding, marketing, scaling the business. Fun fact about this entire event is I actually, so Prateek has been kind enough to reach out to me for a couple of events in the past, which I've been denying because of work schedule. And then when this one came in, I shared this with the PR agency asking them to connect with him. And then day before yesterday, I get an email that, hey, you have to come. And then I took a screenshot and I shared it to the agency asking, did we confirm? Because I never did that. But yeah, okay. So then they said that, yes, it is confirmed. So I said, sure. Now that it is confirmed, might as well go and be part of it. So yeah, nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
Great. Thank you for joining us here today. Please go on.
Hi, my name is Deepak. I'm part of the product team over here at Pepperfry. I've been doing product for about 19 years now. Mostly, like, the core of my experience has been in tech and product. I get super excited, like a fangirl, when anyone starts talking about first-party data or zero-party data. So, some of you guys will realize. Fun fact about me, I hate traffic so much. I've been building up the courage to come to BKC, like, all day. And this is the furthest I've traveled, I think, all month, and I hope this is the furthest I will travel all month, because just the thought of kind of waiting in traffic just drains me completely.
Thank you for the pain that you took.
It's a sad fact, not. Hi everyone, I'm Kapil Dev. I work with National Commodities and Derivative Exchange Limited, and I do head business and marketing over there. I am an agriculturist. I am agriculture graduate, agriculture MBA. Work with most of the leading agriculture houses, Monsanto. I have been a trader with Glencore, and now I'm with NCDX for 5 years. The interesting fact is, Dev is not my surname. Mm-hmm. Accidentally, because of Kapil Dev, I got the Dev.
Wow.
And the fun fact is, I don't play cricket. So, thank you.
Hi, good evening. This is Suraj Shetty. I had customer experience for Kist. Kist is a fintech platform, and we are present pan-India. Fun fact about me is still when I meet my friends from my MBA batch and I go to my alumnus, they are still shocked to see me that you did MBA in finance and you were first in MBA and you are best in all the financial subjects. And what are you doing in customer experience now? So that's what. So even I'm thinking, but I love this field of customer experience and products, and I think that excites me more than finance. So that's why.
Great.
Hi, I'm Dharmendra Narang. I am from IFL Securities, working with them for last 8 years. Before that, I have worked with Motilal Oswal, ICICI Bank, and Stockholding Corporation. So, for fun fact, if I say it's in line with what Suraj said, I have done my post-graduation in physics, and currently for last 5 years, I am in securities market.
Interesting. Imagine now if we had all the fun facts, mentioned in a very structured manner for us to know how many of us actually accidentally landed into what we are doing, or how many of us actually landed accidentally into this discussion today. It would be so interesting. And that was the exercise. Thank you very much for joining us here on behalf of BrandEquity and AirtelIQ Ads. I thank you, each one of you. What we'll do now is we'll have a set of questions bounced off and get the perspectives out of it. This is how roundtable, and that's why it's fun, because it's closed door. Let's start with some interesting way of engaging with your set of customers, and it would be great if you answer it through the lenses of your own industry or your own company. I'd like to start with you, Mr. Narang. Some interesting ways you engage with your customers or potential customers.
See, engaging customer is always interesting. So, so it depends upon which mode you are using.
Correct.
I would say one thing I find interesting in what is happening in the overall industry in terms of digitalization. So my interest always is to adopt the new technologies. See, the challenge is how customers takes it. So you have to be very, very sensitive that you are not rubbing on the wrong side, especially if they are your HNI customers. You have to test it very, very cautiously. So that is the important. So we are using most of AI related things, whether it's a voice bot, email bot, chat bot.
Correct.
But we use it selectively depending upon what is the usage of the thing. So, even if you look at, suppose example is voice bot. So I may not use it for my HNI customers. Because I want people, they should connect to my person immediately.
Correct.
If there is a retail, mass retail, where probably you may not have immediate bandwidth when there is a volume. So then it becomes very, very useful to use it. Because if you look at people who reaches you, more than 50 to 60% are for generic, which is available to them. But they still call you up because they find it convenient. Call up and find out.
Correct.
So that is where the sensitivity piece comes into picture, how you use it. That is how I look at engagement.
Great. Suraj, 3 smart ways of connecting with your customers or potential customers from the point of view of your own company.
So when it comes to potential customers, we depend completely on performance marketing, which is more on digital channels, that is social media especially. And when it comes to existing customers, I would say we keep asking questions to customers. A lot of questions are being asked during the journey. So when someone takes loan from Kisht app, right, and these are short-term loans, emergency loans. So they keep availing loans every month, every 2 months, or sometimes they may be taking every 15 days. So when they take a loan, we ask some general questions about their likes and dislikes. What do they like? Where do they like to shop? What kind of expenses they are looking at through the loan, etc. And whenever they are making a repayment, also there are some small questions that they need to fill, which they get rewarded for. And through these questions, we accumulate around 20 to 25 questions, which helps us analyze the behavior of the customers. And based on that, and also based on the data that we have about the customer, we decide what kind of marketing strategies have to be given to these customers and what kind of offers or what kind of loans. It can be a shopping loan, it can be a loan to buy say, for example, to buy something on Flipkart or Amazon, or to buy medicines or food, etc. So it depends on what kind of information they feed us, as well as what kind of information we get through different digital channels. That's how we engage with them, and we understand their likes and dislikes.
Great. Mr. Amit, I would like to bring you over here. You said that you get bored, or you are now quite banner blind. How do you deal with that scenario when you are communicating yourself? Because there are many like you, probably your potential customers.
So look, most of our marketing, including the digital vertical, to be honest with you, is centered around 2 pillars. One is authenticity. Like I am from Wonder Chef, and a name like Chef Sanjeev Kapoor is associated with this. He's one of the founders. So, and he is like one of the biggest name when it comes to cooking. So the audience of mine basically expects us to have that authenticity, that expertise when it comes to our communication. So that is something that we deeply believe in and ensure that every piece of communication, be it our social media, be it even the performance ad campaigns that we run, is centered around giving that experience, ensuring that we convey what we believe in and how we could actually help it. That is one. And second is experiential. So fortunately, we are not only digital brand, but we are an omni-channel entity. Let's we sell cross-channel. We have deep integration when it comes to our offline as well as online channels, and that generally helps. I right now can kind of or arrange a video demo for one of our, let's say like a lakh rupee machine, right? And when it comes to, let's say like HNI for that matter, the communication could be in English, like the demo that will be given will be in English. When let's say like I get some inquiries, say from town like Allahabad or Kanpur, like one of my Hindi speaking like agent would actually connect with them. So that kind of personalization we actually generally ensure. Second, most important thing, and which stems from the first aspect itself, is content marketing. Like one of our philosophy when it comes to social media marketing is to kind of ensure that we give content. Like it's my personal belief as well. Like give, and then kind of like ask. Like okay, so content marketing we deeply believe in. Like most of our posts, like 80% of my content would be about, let's say like helping someone, making a decision, helping someone to get best out of their cookware, their appliances, and only then we probably nudge them towards something. That is one. And first party data, again, let's like huge like piece in our communication. So emails is something that we value a lot when it comes to, let's say like once we onboard an user, like be it a customer or even just a prospect, we ensure that, let's say like there is definitely some amount of handshake between, let's say like my emailer campaigns, the flow that goes, and maybe let's say like the CRM, like if that guy has actually, let's say, interacted with our service channel, our, let's say like offline team as well, like we generally ensure like the email are also supplemented with certain human interaction. Like it could be like via WhatsApp message, it could be, let's say, even a call as well. So that's how we generally operate.
Go ahead, Abhishek.
I'll add something. So I think a couple of points that we all are talking about is there's a shift in the audience behavior. As you look at reaching out to slightly younger audience today, they're all multitasking. They've become more transactional. They're sort of impatient now to come and achieve a task. And when I wear my product hat, we keep optimizing journeys for the quickest possible action on every page. When you build a product, you're trying to get the user to focus into an action and get out of that page. Yeah, this makes it very hard for you to try and bring in an element of discovery when the intent is low. And this is something that we struggled with. For example, we used to have several million customers come in and do their recharge every day on our app, right? And our team kept saying that, this is your biggest opportunity. There's someone who's coming in to recharge for the product. I'm talking about 8 million people coming every day to recharge. Yeah. And why can't we tap a small set of these customers to sell another product, right? Now, as a product manager, your first job is to make sure that the recharge happens the quickest so that you don't have funnel drops. The minute you add, let's say, a layer of cross-sell on it, your recharge funnel could drop. So this is something that we found very difficult to do on the same journey. And we literally had to break our engagement journey with the transaction journey, right? And we've still not mastered this. I think nearly everyone struggles with it, but Amazon does this, for example, pretty well. Right? They, in your purchase funnel, make you add products, right? And we've not been able to do that as well because we also have more deferred products. But it's an interesting problem that I'm very happy to hear all of you guys. You all have several products that could go to the same customer, and you want to keep.
There is, you were asking what are the ways that you engage with the customer, and I was just wondering, and picking up on what Abhishek, you're saying. See, for an industry like ours, where we manage money, right? We manage money and large sums at that, right? It's not like a small portion of the money that we are managing. For us to engage with them, we are constantly looking for, opportunities to upsell, cross-sell, but not ever mis-sell. All right. And for that matter, the constant lookout for a tech plus human approach to engage is a challenge for us, right? How do you kind of keep doing that? And the intent at our end is also to ensure that we don't hard sell ever, which is again the point about ensuring that when you're kind of on the platform to do something, let's not hard sell something or cross sell something that you don't really need. You can come and get done with what is required. So whether it is engaging the customer while we are playing golf with them, or managing to actually give them when they're seeking to actually look for opportunities to manage or grow their wealth or add to the wealth, looking beyond the traditional public markets and seeking information, is actually a very interesting way to engage with the customer in our journey, in our business, right?
Correct.
And that becomes a non-intrusive way to actually give them what they need. At the same time, you achieve your objective of being able to kind of add to a little more to what you can actually do beyond the existing reason why they are here with you. So maybe in your context, if you're able to kind of build a certain native app integration for that matter while the person is on board, while he's coming for a recharge, and you're able to kind of build in the same context a reason for him to look at you beyond the recharge, maybe it might help. Maybe, I don't know.
Great. Now, picking on the topic of optimization, yeah.
It's okay, I want to add to what you said. I think comparing yourself to Amazon is not fair. Like simply because you said that they're kind of doing what's very natural. I think the best experiences are the ones that are crafted which emulate natural behavior, like offline behavior, right? So we're used to, like when checking out, picking up chewing gums when we are kind of on the last minute, right? And that's pretty much what Amazon does. But like you called out, I'm here doing recharge and I'm then trying to sell another digital service. There is no equivalent to that, or there isn't enough precedent to that in terms of what people look to do. That's where the friction typically comes in the picture, right? I mean, any friction, I think there is a case for manufactured friction. Let's say, for example, like in the case of banking, right? People don't want to be super easy, like I'm transferring money overnight, right? They want that it should feel like I'm transferring money, right? So there's manufactured friction where people are looking for friction, so to speak. But I don't think that translates well. I think the best experiences are the ones that emulate offline behavior and then translate those offline. I think if ever I were to look for a solution there, I'd kind of see where might parallels for these exist, and then see how do I kind of do what I do there. Incidentally, Paytm does a semi-decent job of kind of upselling their or kind of, because I think inherently if they get more value out of it, the stickiness for the user would be higher, right? But at the same time, how do you? It's that balance, like you rightly called out.
I just want to add one point to this.
Sure.
I think what you're trying to cross-sell to a customer, right? For instance, it's not the largest category which is there, right? And this is fashion, right? We can always cross-sell the most expensive product. That doesn't matter. You will always cross-sell a product which that customer probably is looking for. In the end, if you keep that in mind, while the value may be slower and lower, you will at least ensure that what are we in the business of as marketeers, right? What we are trying to do is ensure that the customer is happy, he's satisfied, and he gets his job done. The revenue is just incidental.
Correct.
It only comes in because of that. So the moment you focus on that problem, and that is literally what all of our sales associates are driven to do. It's not about picking the 7,000 rupee jacket. If he's bought a t-shirt or if he's bought a denim, sell him a 1,000 rupee t-shirt, sell him a 1,500 rupee t-shirt. As long as he buys that, he is happy to enter your store the next time. And you will always have a chance to sell that 7,000 rupee jacket to him.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
I have another point of view coming from my industry is that creating friction sometimes drop the customer itself. Because for me, it is how fast and how efficiently you can execute. Because for him, every transaction is a money transaction. So you would not like to lose a second.
Correct.
It takes another bit of a second, means he lost his money. So that's why you can't put any interaction or any intervention or any friction on when he's transacting. The important is when you're looking at product, even if you want to introduce something, make it as a simple. Make him for learning for him. Like if he never traded in FNO, make a product so that he just have to do a few clicks and understand it how it happens.
Correct.
So he knows that if there is a loss, how it happens. So it may be minimum amount, minimum quantity, and he has a choice to choose. So it becomes a fun for him. So that you get him engaged, and next time when he become used to it, then he'll start transacting in big values. So that is how you can engage in terms of financial transaction, which is very, very important.
Great. Mr. Sengupta, your 2 bits on nuances of engagement.
Yeah, sorry. I think, I come from consumer marketing background, and whatever I understood in the sense that, okay, and there are a lot of things which are happening in terms of the digital, the data lakes which are coming up, and you are getting enormous data about consumer. You are trying to do a lot of AI ML around that data points. You are trying to map the consumer journey, and then you are trying to understand the interfaces from where you can catch him, you can tap him, and then you are doing all those kind of things. But I think there are two fundamental points which I understood from a consumer marketing career is that what Amit said, one point is that you need to be authentic about what you are selling. If whatever you do, the data, AI, technology is the means, but technology is not the end solution. The end solution is the customer or consumer, if I may say, is looking for a solution. It's like a classic Theodore Levitt quotation is that consumer is not buying a drill, he's buying a 4-inch hole. So that one has to understand is that, okay, fundamentally, the authenticity of the solution has to be there. It should not be covered under the technology aspect. Or so, like, let me give you an example. Like, you can suppose if I'm buying an airline ticket, and you can create a fantastic UX, user experience, in terms of, okay, within 3 minutes you bought the ticket. And then after 1 week I'm traveling, and that CX, or the consumer experience, customer experience, if it is horrendous, that UX doesn't do anything. Okay, that's fall flat. So that's one thing which I'm saying that, okay, you need to be authentic about that. And the second part, again, I would say that in a consumer marketing, one aspect is that the best way to do the consumer engagement is to see consumer in action.
Correct.
And one of the ways in the FMCG industries which we do is that we do a lot of ethnography, we do a lot of consumer home visit, and see the consumer in action, how he or she is using a particular product. And that gives you a lot of insight. And that's the way basically you create the engagement. And that you bring back into your design table, in your product table, so product designing table. So fundamentally, these are the two things which I'm, again, reiterating, that authenticity and see the consumer in action. And that gives you a kind of insight which I don't think any data can give you.
Okay. You want to make a point here, Abhishek?
So I think one very interesting thing I picked up is, and I'll bring in the concept of omni-channel, right? What I'm almost hearing is there is a channel and there is a time that you want to go back to your customer. It's probably at a high point, saying when your transaction is successful, when you're reminding the customer about the success of what he or she did. Try and cross sell, or in your case, maybe someone has booked a flight ticket and you're reminding them to web check in, and at that point of time you also sell your seat upgrade, right? So I think the two things that I picked up for me was figure out when the customer wants to be reminded, remarketed, resold something.
Correct.
Do it at a high point instead of creating artificial friction beyond the experience that you want to generate. So I think those are 2 points that I'm going to take away. Has worked for us in the past as well, where we've sold a lot of content on the recharge success message. So instead of doing what Paytm does, so in our business, recharge is the shopping cart and content is a chewing gum. As you exit the store, surprisingly they're charged the other way. The recharge is cheaper than the content product, but we've seen this work. We've seen the reminder, being picked up as thank you for recharging. By the way, we have a content bundle that, because of that recharge, we continue reminding the customer that you bought a $299 product. You can now actually upgrade yourself to a $499 product which includes this content, than buying the content as a whole. So you actually remind them, saying that you can actually get the product you bought a little cheaper now. So that's worked for us.
Very interesting. But yeah, please go ahead, Deepak.
I have a pop quiz for you. So because you brought up the airlines example, Delta did this entire research in terms of when is the best time to upsell a ticket, upsell your seat. Can you guys guess when is the best time?
Upscale the seat.
Upsell. Basically, like, how do you get somebody to upgrade? Like, what is the best possible time? Because you said that when you're getting them to do...
Just enter the airline, is it? Sorry? You just enter the aircraft, is it?
Right when you're about to board, right? That's the best time that you get, absolutely. Because that's when the dread, in terms of when you kind of spoke about the timing, it's not when they engage, but like whenever the friction in terms of like how... I think the point on kind of looking at the user behavior in terms of how they kind of cracked it was that. And second is, I think fundamentally what you're doing, because it's a lot of it is around creating habits, right? How do you kind of create that habit loop, right? In terms of getting them to buy more and more. I think that incentivizing the first few transactions, etc., that might be something that you, as you rightly called out, like post-transaction, getting them to get into the habit of like, look, it's less about the revenue you would make, but more about getting into that whole goal loop in terms of like, look, I need to buy something after I recharge. Right? Just that emulating that kind of behavior, because you'd be on the forefront of that, kind of creating that behavior, but that doesn't exist today offline. It's rightly called, like people go and do like a 10 rupee recharge or a 50 rupee recharge for that matter.
I think what you're also selling, I think one point which I would like to add is what you're selling becomes very, very important. I mean, today we talk about how to make selling easier, but probably there's a lot less effort in terms of recommending what the customer really wants. And it may not happen in other industries. An airline can only sell food seats and whatever, right? But where you can, I mean, just because you have a consumer loan which needs to be pushed, that may not be the right solution. Even if it's a savings bank account, please push that. That's what I think probably works for the consumer. And how to figure that out and manage that into the top line is something. I mean, that's probably what our jobs are, to manage those expectations.
Great. Sanket, I would like to bring you here. I mean, he mentioned about mapping customer journey and how, the moment I see, lower leg room, I am more likely to actually upgrade and get myself a better seat. So how are you actually mapping the customer journey, across various touch points? Can you take us through the process?
Sure. For PW, we don't call them customers, we call them students. Strict policy internally that not users or customers, they are students. And the way we've built it is there is always MarkTech and all the journeys that are already there, right? I also want to talk about the engagement piece, and then I'll also cover what you wanted to know. On the engagement front, we usually see companies doing a one-way communication, right? It's always from the company to the customer or student or, consumer, right? At least with PW, what we do is, since it's a service, we ensure that we hear out all our students actively in every service that we deliver. It can be a class, it can be books, test series, so on and so forth. How do we do that? We have, as I said, traditional ways of communicating, email, SMS, WhatsApp, all of that, that's there. That's one small bit of engagement with them. Larger part of engagement for us is when students enter into the class, we have a chat option available, may it be free or may it be paid. And imagine teacher teaching all these students at scale, right? The only way to understand or know their reaction is via chat. And that's something that works for us. Another thing which definitely works for us in terms of any feedback related to a class or any feedback or any new product or service which a student may want is via YouTube comments or social media comments. I'm not too sure how many companies actually focus on that, but that's when your customer or your student or your parent or anyone else is actually talking about it and asking for it, right? We have a policy where not just like the social media team or the digital team, but even from the founding team to like anyone who's not related to marketing, branding, business, everyone will be part of the ORM, and they will take a look at comments every time something is launched, and that builds in that customer engagement piece, right? That is how we keep it two-way most of the time, right? A lot of feedback that we get from them is via these channels. YouTube being one of the biggest one, because it just fills with comments and it's spammed with like things that they need, right? And that is how we then take up new items. In terms of that cross sell, I like what Nazif said, right? Like you need to ensure that whatever you're recommending, your recommendation engine should be apt enough to recommend relevant items, right? For example, we have patches. Then we also can, sell books, test series, then there are multiple other smaller programs that we have. But is that required at the time of cart? Would the right service be recommended? I think that is what helps, closing or ensuring that you're giving away whatever is required to the student or the parent, right? In terms of journeys, to answer your question, we have CRMs, we have MarkTech built, our infrastructure is built, and there are journeys which are built already. There is time-based journeys, there are action-based journeys. All of that is there, but mainly all our engagement and all our actual communication happens during our interaction with the students during launches or during the comments when we reach out to them and talk to them, all of that. We do a lot of offline events as well, and then that is where we see a lot of these students coming in organically. We don't even call them. I'm not too sure if you've seen or followed Physics Wala, but we don't do much of paid marketing, right? It's mainly organic driven, and it's mainly driven by students and them coming, sharing their feedback. So that is typically how we do it at PW.
Yeah, actually, to add to your point, Sanket, even in our line of business for that matter, when it comes to the retail side of our business, which is not like the really UHNI, HNI kind of audience, but for the retail, for example, investable income of 10 lakh upwards or something like that, a huge, understanding of the audience is also done through our partner networks, right? I mean, the people who are selling on our behalf and using our machinery for that matter to build their business. In fact, a lot of our, intel about our on-ground customers, our real customers, comes from them.
Okay.
That also is a very interesting and effective way to look at how you can actually engage with your customer. Not necessarily directly, but through a preferred medium that they have chosen to interact with us, which is their partner for that matter. And how do you kind of therefore go out and make them believe in us or believe in our story?
Great.
One I would like to add is,
Yeah, please go ahead, Amit.
basically now is the time where we really need to understand that we are not only in the business of selling something, right? We really are in the business of helping someone, like something that Nazif and Sanket also actually mentioned. So at WonderChef, the ORM metrics are probably as important as the social media or even the performance matrices are, right? Because that is when you kind of actually learn something about your audience. It is the responding to them, trying to converse with them, trying to understand their pain points, and then helping them is real engagement than let's your reach, your likes and something. So that is something that we really deeply believe in. So YouTube, maybe Instagram nowadays are one of the two important platforms for us as well to kind of understand what people really or our audience really wants from us.
One thing I just would like to add to Sanket for his business only, which I liked about their engagement is where they have small reels and leave it with interesting questions on physics. So
You're talking about the viral video. You're talking about the
video.
No, it's viral video.
Okay, I don't remember, but I have commonly seen that normally because being in the physics student, so I normally go through that, and they leave a very interesting question. So students becomes inquisitive.
Okay.
Even whether they get an answer or not, but the way they create that connectivity, so they leave something impression in the mind. So this is one thing which I liked about especially Physics Wala.
Thank you. Yeah. Before we move on, Chandni, welcome to the discussion. Thank you very much for joining us. You missed an interesting part, which is introducing yourself with a fun fact about yourself.
A fun fact.
Yeah. So spotlight is on you now.
Yeah, that makes me nervous. So, hi, and apologies for being late. This is Bombay, and changes as much. Weather changes, my time that changed. So, thanks for inviting. My name is Chandni, and I represent Turtlements. It's an insurtech largely focused into insurance distribution. We are in the business for about 6 years, and I'm leading the brand marketing sort of vertical. I've been in the .com industry for over 10 to 12 years and largely worked with fintech businesses, .com industry largely, right? So Book My Show, Carotline.com, Truecaller Pay, loans, and now InsurTech, right? So fun fact is that I think this one's this one's the most difficult. Yeah, that I enjoy watching Netflix. Just in and in the morning.
Wow.
Is that really funny? I don't know. So yeah, just maybe.
Great. Watching Netflix in the morning. Abhishek, I would like to come to you. Somebody mentioned that the recommendation engine needs to be apt. Now you have someone who watches Netflix in the morning. That's not a very usual behavior. How does a recommendation engine then gets it right?
So I doubt if the recommendation engine changes recommendations between morning and evening. I think it's about driving content. So as long as Netflix is throwing her interesting stuff to watch, I'm sure.
The push notification from the app?
I don't think Netflix does that. But yeah, I'm sure if... so let me put it this way. If there's a day that she misses watching Netflix in the morning, I'm sure they want to do a push notification. Remind her about it. But I think one very interesting thing I heard, and I also want to share, right? I heard our CEO talk about Airtel as a service company, right? Because theoretically, whenever you buy a SIM card or you buy a broadband connection or a DTH connection, you expect it to work like electricity or water. You actually don't expect it to stop working. Yeah. And we started measuring interaction. So we actually floated a rule saying, if the customer reaches out to us, assume they're in pain. Assume that they've found an issue with their service and they would want help. And it's very interesting. It further made us think about, can we be proactive in terms of using data about our customers to figure out, can we solve their problem, or can we identify the problem as they reach us? Yeah, and think of an experience which is offline. So assume you've called our contact center saying you have a challenge with the bill. You've received a bill, you don't like the bill, you think there's a challenge. The contact center says that I agree with, or I'm at least acknowledging the challenge that you're facing, and we'll come back to you, because a lot of times the contact center agent can't really solve the problem, right? So they register a complaint. Imagine the person walking into your store in 24 hours, 48 hours, right? This person is at the peak of their anger with the brand at that point when they walk in. And as they walk in, if you expect them to explain the entire story about why my bill is not working, the second time you will end up having a very heated conversation in those 15 minutes as they talk to the store representative. And this is a problem statement that we got as a product team, saying, how do you solve at least your repeat service requests? Yeah, and one of the products we worked on was we understood the customer pain proactively. So we actually now have a list of customers who could potentially call us for a service request. It's a very exciting thing that
probabilistic, is it?
That we worked on, right? And this happened to me. We launched a product where if you walk into our store and if you've registered a complaint, we will try and solve that complaint and show the CRO the resolution. So there was an old gentleman who called us for a billing problem. We couldn't resolve it, so he walked into the store the next day, and we were just launching this product, and I was standing behind our the customer relationship officer to see what she does. And as this person walked in, she said, "Hi sir, please have a seat. I know you had an issue with our billing. We've resolved it, and this is the resolution."
Very nice.
Right? The customer was delighted. The person started smiling. Yeah, that led to, and I'm serious. That led to a sales opportunity in that same 15 minutes.
Wow.
The learning that we took away was every customer who walks in has only 15 minutes. They walk in for a problem. If you can reduce the time that it takes to solve their problem, which is either through data or through your ability to stitch the product, you have created an opportunity for yourself for anything, right? It could be sale, it could be engagement, it could just be delighting the customer. So I think that's one more thing that I get reminded as I hear all of you speak about how to solve, how to bring data in, how to reach the customer at the right.
It's very interesting which you have just brought in. And I find even Jio is not doing it. I'll share a personal example. I'm using their fiber services now for at least 5 years. I may be the initial one who has given the deposit to them. Not happy, but I was using it without any much of complaints. Recently, what happened is I wanted a new remote, okay, for their STB, and I just requested it. They said it'll be delivered, okay. And that guy engineer call up at 2 o'clock in my office saying that I want to deliver. He was come at 5 o'clock and deliver it. He will not come 5 o'clock. You call up, he will never come back. You again call up, complain. I called up 3 times, alternative days, 7 days. And finally I called up saying that you cancel it. And I called up, we have connection in Airtel, so I thought, okay, I want to change to Airtel fiber. In my building, there's not even a single Airtel fiber. Everybody has Jio. Told me they need NOC from society and send me a format. And I'm putting it to my society, need to give me the approval, I'll get the fiber. So it means it is not only me, probably others who may be in building will change to Airtel. So understand that if you are not understanding your customer needs, 7 days you can't change a remote and person is coming every time at 2 o'clock, nobody is at home. And I'm requesting me every time softly. And sometimes I get too much hyper also when talking to the call center agent boss. You are taking the time, you are asking when he can come. Why can't come on the time when he is deciding on? There is so much of gap between that. And it has not happened 1 time, 3 times, and it took 7 days. And nobody cares to come back. No, we are taking your request. And worst part is there is no escalation matrix. You can never reach their supervisor. Say you want to speak to their supervisor. No, I fail to understand. I run a call center. So today, if someone wants to speak to my team leader, I'll say you have to be immediately on call. It cannot escalate. Because even if you look at my chairman, my managing director, everybody is on social media. So everybody can write to them. We have to be very, very sensitive that nobody should go on the top saying that there's a complaint. And anybody goes to them, we immediately pick up on social media and call up upfront boss what happened. And here, there's no supervisor who can ready to come on phone. I was shocked.
Wow,
that is if you create such a channel, I don't know how they're surviving just because of numbers, how long they can survive until you don't change something at the ground.
That's like a customer experience. And
to add to what Dharmendra said, I would say even I have observed this. So usually there are in banks, especially I would say, there are 2 kinds of customers. One is who is approaching you. You can very well know that he has a problem and you can solve for it. Even you can track how many times a customer has come in the last 6 months. All those analysis can be done. There's a different type of customer who doesn't speak to the brand at all. He's silent all the time.
Correct.
He would use the product. He would sometimes be a repeat user and suddenly he would stop using and there would be no communication, no ticket raised, no grievance raised, nothing. And also there would be no cancellation or anything of that sort. So these are customers that are very difficult to analyze. Especially I was speaking to a banker from a public sector bank, and the main problem that they face is there are customers, a large number of customers who are moving out and they don't even know that they're moving out. They just have accounts and the accounts are not operational. Feel that they have a customer, but the customer is already gone. And they have never interacted with anyone. So that's a problem that data can solve, I think. And that's where it's very important to keep speaking to customers. Even if they are not interacting, we need to upfront go and interact with them to know what's causing this silence.
I know Kapil has a point to make here. I'll come to you, Kapil, but welcome Prajakta to the discussion. I'll soon come to you with the drill that we have all gone through. You have to introduce yourself with one fun fact along it. So I'll come back to you, but now Kapil, please, your point.
Yeah, thank you. When I studied, we were taught that customer is a king. When I was in my second organization, we were taught customer is a queen. They are more sensitive. Now I feel customer is a princess. They are very delicate. And why I do say this, because now customer doesn't want you to take the decision, right? With so much of information available, they want to take their own decision. And that's the challenge for all the marketeer to fit yourself where customer doesn't realize that you are being targeted and you made a decision. If for the airline's sake, I'll say, right? And most of the time I do analyze myself where I got engaged in the cross-selling. When you move into the aircraft, first you see the first class passenger sitting, comfortably with so much of drinks and everything around. You move to in certain airlines premium, and then you find your seat somewhere, right? That's the first point when the cross-selling of the first and premium happens. And why I am saying this? When I travel 2 times, my daughter says, why don't we sit here? Right? And I made a choice maybe once in 5 times, okay, let's try this. That's the cross-selling where you are not being forced by anyone, right? And customer never realize that you are in a trap, and that happens.
Yeah.
Second important thing is identifying informed customer and confused customer. And that is very important. The informed customer is easy. Confused customer is very difficult to handle. You have to be very, very careful when you're designing your marketing strategy that which segment, which category your customer belongs to. And why I say confused customer, earlier buying a car was easy, right? You go to Maruti or Hyundai and you buy a car. Now there are 20 brands, 20 companies, hundreds of things. Even forget about car, even for the doctors and even for the treatment, customers and patient comes ready with, their own set of diagnosis and all type of this thing. There you need to be very, very cautious how you design your marketing strategy and your communication.
Correct.
And I go with the Nazif, what I said, that customers should never realize that this product is being cross-sold. That's the important point. You have to identify the need of this. On the Jio side, I have a very different experience. I am a Jio customer. I was having a plan. I was paying $999 for a month. And they called me that we have analyzed your, all the uses and everything. I think you fit into $499. And I don't say degraded or upgraded, but I got the similar facilities and services in $499. Of course, they sold me the Jio TV along with this. But yes, the communication is started with something very different, right? And I think that is something which has changed. Second is on the customer experience side. As I said, customer are princes. They are very delicate, right? Especially for us who work, we are in exchange. We are in a very regulated work. We can't sell product. We can't talk prices like you and maybe IFL. We can create awareness. And they do come to us when they are stuck, their money is involved, right? Even in one fraction of second when you are late, right? Then the response change from sir to, to the different category. And that's something which I do think is very important, that you identify the customer, you allocate your resources accordingly, and you handle them with that kind of a strategy.
Correct. Francis, your point of view on this, and then I have another question for you actually.
So I think, just taking off from what Sanket said and Abhishek said, I think one of the things we actually do quite religiously is allocate, 2 customer complaints to everybody in a particular level and above in the organization, right? For them to solve real time. I mean, these are not like study complaints or anything. These are real live customer complaints.
Correct.
And as you navigate, across different departments trying to solve the customer complaints, you start realizing, okay, where are your processes siloed, where everybody is looking at, their own departmental tat and not the overall customer experience. And it helps dissolve a lot of those things quite easily and quite quickly. And it does much more than, what a data that you would see in an Excel sheet or a PowerPoint. Because you're actually feeling that with the customer, because you're answerable to someone at the other end, and he has your number at the other end. So I think that really works. That really works wonders, and it kind of fits very much into that serve to sell philosophy. So that was on this particular piece. I think on the other piece of how and where to engage and how to cross sell. Life insurance is interestingly very a category where you kind of charge a lot of money upfront. Typical ticket sizes are 30, 40,000, 50,000 plus. You get the customer to fill a long form with some 115 fields. You then ask for identification proofs. And you ask for income proofs. Then you basically tell him to go do medicals, right? And all this while, you're saying, oh, we are evaluating whether we can give you the product. And then after all that, you give him a piece of paper. Now it's digital piece of paper. He himself will not enjoy, mostly his nominees will, when he's not around to do that, right? So it's akin to saying that, okay, here is a whole bunch of things I'm going to ask, and not getting anything in return. So while we can obsess, and we try to obsess about how do you reduce, one additional field? How do you reduce one additional touch point? We can never be as smooth just because of the demands and the nature of the business. You can never be as smooth as, say, an e-commerce checkout or a recharge. This is just pay your money and come through. So what we try to do, and this is an interesting area of cross-sell, is that you tell the customer you've already done all the hard work.
Correct.
We already have all this information about you. We've already underwritten you for so much, right? So now, just for this much more, right? You have an accidental death benefit rider or a critical illness rider or something else that can be bundled. Or because we already have so much of your data, here is this piece which is, which you can kind of get for a fraction, slightly higher sum and stuff like that. That really works. And that kind of, sets the piece for most customers to kind of go and do the small product bundle, the small add-ons which get added.
Great.
I wanted to add, because it's HDFC, so I have a HDFC policy which I started maybe years back, and I lost that in between. And recently, after 5 years, I did not pay the premium and I forgot about it. I got a call from HDFC customer executive on my birthday, which is there. Happy birthday to you, and we just called you to understand, are you keeping well, because you are not paying the premium. They didn't say you pay the premium, your policy is wrong, but indirectly they said we are wishing you the birthday. We just want to know, are you doing well, are you keeping well, and everything. So it's again, I would compliment it if you're the right person to, or you can convey that. That made me to start paying my premium again and reactivate my policy.
It's actually based on a philosophy that says that don't let the customer live through a regretful experience, in the sense that if I start the call saying that hey, you've not paid your premium, what happened, do you have some financial problem, etc., you're making the customer, I mean, maybe he really didn't want to kind of, and maybe there were genuine, financial constraints at that time, but you're making him relive that experience again. Other than making him relive that experience again of, feeling, wanting of feeling having missed something, kind of go back to the experience of why he bought a product in the first place. Correct. So he bought the product to fulfill some life goal. So is that life goal getting fulfilled right now? How are you, how are you on track for that life goal? A lot of times when you kind of remind them of that piece, they automatically come back saying that, yeah, okay, I mean, maybe the product was not right, but I still want to kind of fulfill that life goal. Would you suggest something else?
Great. Coming to you, Prajakta, your introduction session, and then I have a question for you.
Okay, sure. So, hi everyone. Myself, Prajakta Rathe. I have been leading performance marketing for MyGlam and the entire Good Glam group. All the D2C brands that are under the Good Glam group. And I have over 12 years of experience. I was with Sugar Cosmetics earlier. Prior to that, I was with Book My Show and many agencies before. So fun fact about me, I can't laugh.
Okay.
I really can't laugh. I mean, I don't like comedy because I can't laugh. So that's a fun fact that I can share about me.
Great. Since you mentioned performance marketing, can you give us the channels that you are using and that are actually giving you the best results?
3 channels mainly, Google, Facebook, and affiliate marketing.
Great.
Only 3.
Fantastic. Chandni, I would like to bring you over here. What are the nuances of performance marketing that you would like to share with us?
Yeah, so also I'd like to say hello to my ex-colleague Priyanka, and I have worked together in Book My Show at the same time. So performance marketing wise, I think we have a lot that we sort of probably borrow from. So we, in the current space, performance wise, right, we largely look at the ticket size, CLTV wise, right? I think our situation today is a deep B2B2C model, right? So when we do, onboard a lot of agents to sort of do the insurance distribution, we look at largely, really expensive product, right? And when we look at it, we don't look at like a variety of platforms. We're very, very sharp in terms of even if it means referrals and, they could be expensive. We're in the business of, a ticket size of 5,000. CAC, right? So, and of course, large part of our decisions come from, how to optimize this. It takes a very long time to take that decision also. And we just largely look at the early indicators, right, of how the retention metrics look like from the source of it, right? Large part of your performance marketing decisions come from what they're doing in the app immediately after they onboard, right? And we are not just app, right? Like any activity, right? And even offline, we are a hybrid sort of a support, right? So we look for these cues to quickly optimize on affiliate channels, on the influencers, and a lot of content marketing strategies, right? Whatever we do to do paid direct for media or paid through content, right? All of these, retention being the key lever to making this decision, is how we take this call. Yeah.
Great. Vignesh, you want to have a point over here on this optimizing to, get better returns?
No, I think it's like, I think we are always trying to scratch the bottom of the barrel, right? I think when it comes to performance marketing, I think 3 channels, I think what Facebook, Google, and then
affiliates,
right? I think it's a constant challenge, right? I think how do I bring cost of acquisition down? How do I get scale, right? I think it's a constant challenge. I think the industry needs to move towards probably a level greater and say, am I acquiring quality customers or am I just acquiring volumes, right? I don't think we discuss that enough. Right? I think everybody is under the quarter pressure to bring the cost down. And then we are like, okay, which is a channel that's giving me the most amount of lowest CAC, highest volume, right? Let's just double down. And I think we do that quite a lot. I think if we can figure out what is the measure of quality that brings in and start looking at lower down funnel, I think we'll be able to drive a lot more better conversations in the market. Right now, it's still topsy-turvy.
Great. Suraj, you also mentioned performance marketing in the beginning, and she mentioned 3 channels. Could you give us some challenges that you face while using or optimizing these channels?
Yeah. So when it comes to channels, I would say since we are into credit, we are a lending, we are a fintech which gives credit. So the quality of traffic that comes in is very much. It also depends on what kind of channels that they're using and what kind of customers will come in for the credit, because the type of customers that come from a particular channel, for example, the type of customers would come from a gaming site compared to a type of customers that would come from an e-commerce site would vary in terms of the credit profile also. And also when it comes to e-commerce site, the kind of transactions that they're doing, that also matters. And so we have to be very selective when we are, even when we are interacting with the affiliates, we have to be very selective on what kind of sites or what kind of platforms they are showing these ads. Because we would obviously get traffic, because loan is a pull product. It's not, we don't have to push someone for loan. Correct. It's like a lot of people need loans, so they would directly come for the product. Even if they are not eligible, they would come. But it would not be, as he rightly said, it would not be the right customer for us. So we have to be very careful on what kind of platforms that we use and what kind of websites or places we display these ads. And even after display, it's necessary to filter out these customers. Initial filtering has to be done before we land them on a platform, so that we get the right customers inside. Because once you get a customer, because too many rejections also has a flip side to it, because if we just run ads and we get customers on the platform, and if the customers eventually, of course, they are going to get rejected if their credit profile is negative. If they get rejected, it creates a negative noise on social media. A lot of people come back saying that don't use this app, they reject loans, they're not giving loans. So it's a balancing act.
Great. Deepak, you want to make a point?
The way I kind of look at, you talked about, your question was mostly around what challenges we face during performance marketing, right? So I think if you look at the funnel of think, see, do, and care, if I go down that funnel in terms of how kind of brand salience comes through, right? Almost all performance marketing sits at the do stage, because that's where it's the most deterministic kind of level at which you can operate, because you have the most information. But if you see what's happened over the last year, I think post-COVID, a lot of the CPAs, I think any marketer would know, right? A lot of the CPAs have gone up like almost 40%, right? So because of everyone's clamoring for this do stage because everybody's kind of in the market and there's a lot more demand than supply, right? But nobody's really fundamentally moving up and kind of in the think and care. Like there's obviously ATL above the line that you do there, but I feel like that's something where as this becomes more saturated, and that's something where people would want to or businesses would want to kind of start targeting, because I think we are geared and we'll get there soon. Come 2023, given that a lot of the tracking, etc., will become redundant. A lot of with the third-party cookies kind of going away, right? So I think that's how I kind of see this as like there's an oversaturation, and we're kind of and I think Vignesh and I were talking about this in terms of like over attribution that a lot of these platforms do, right? So there is like you'll see Facebook if you use it, right? So there's anywhere between 0 to like 300% over attribution that happens with Facebook sometimes, right? So it just ranges widely. So you're stuck with working with the ad tech platform that you're working with, and there's no real this thing. But to kind of make sense of it, I mean, how do you kind of measure whether a campaign is working? Retention is the ultimate goal, right? But retention is such a lagging indicator. So you need to kind of make sure you got the levers early to kind of see what are the indicators for like, say, for example, or let's say the inverse of churn, right? And I think that's how I think performance marketing, I mean the two aspects would be like, getting these early indicators, whether this counts or not as quality traffic, working with the right kind of platform in terms of how you, working with the right kind of platform in terms of, so there's no fraud or over attribution, the right kind of attribution, just the control, and then just the ability to move up the funnel at a scalable way. And that's something that's kind of happening right now. It's interesting to see.
Correct.
I just want to add one thing,
Yeah, please go ahead, Naseem.
I mean, we're talking about performance marketing, and the reason why performance marketing is so important, it's measured is because it can be measured. And everything else can be measured probably with a little more difficulty, right? You can still measure ATL, you can still measure what, for instance, print or television or all of those things bring in terms of footfall and revenue. All you need to do is spend that time and effort and obviously invest in figuring out a media mix model which works for you. You will realize that, you probably spend, I mean, most brands probably would spend less than 20%, 10% of their marketing revenues. They would not drive more than 30% of their revenues eventually, right? When you do a media mix model, you'll actually see that transparently.
Correct.
So you're spending that 10% just to probably get 30% of your revenue. 70% will eventually still come in from your brand equity. And the moment you realize that, right, you take a step back and say, yes, just because I cannot measure this does not mean it's not adding any value.
Absolutely.
Correct.
Right? I think that's exactly what you were trying to say. And I think that's absolutely very true. And like you said, unfortunately for D2C brands and with performance marketing, because you can measure it, that's why people attribute a lot more revenues to it. But I think taking a step back always helps. I mean, that's what we've realized. And it may be fine to say that this is money that I'm spending. I will not be able to measure it today, but I will come back in a year, measure it, and see how did I do. It is a lagging indicator, but as long as you have your insights and beliefs over the last few years, you know that you're doing the right thing. So sometimes gut still plays a role, even when things can be 100% measured.
I think that beautifully captures when you say that, like, just because we can't measure it doesn't mean you shouldn't do it, right? So
Absolutely.
That you can't put a premium on some of the softer aspects around, like, I don't know if you could measure, I mean, you can in that case example that you gave, right? So the customer experience aspect of how kind of Airtel kind of, predicts like there's a potential churn, right? So I think, but there are softer aspects like wishing someone on their birthday, and there's no ROI behind these kind of things, These are just
not instantly, but there is an ROI which you can measure eventually.
You can't measure it immediately.
Yeah, Abhishek.
It kind of translates over time.
I'll be honest. We have a lot of data about our customers, right? For us to understand probable churn is a combination of how many times your call has dropped. And the fun part is we can do that. So for us, the challenge is the cost of compute of how deep can you actually go in figuring out what the customer is doing. Theoretically, I can go to the packet level data to understand what websites you browse and which part of your car journey from office to home is poor internet. I could go to that level of figuring this out. Sometimes the cost benefit of it does not pay back, and it's a challenge, right? I mean, we spend a lot of money in analytics today. Prioritizing actionable insights where you can build quantifiable goals is something that we keep figuring out day in, day out. So this example of the billing part, right, is a function of prioritization, saying whenever we think there's a financial impact to the customer, we will invest and we will keep recording and we'll proactively go solve it. Wherever there is, let's say, a broadband impact between 9 p.m. and 9 a.m., we will actively go and solve it as against, let's say, your daytime impact. So we've taken some of these measures to figure out experience and to balance.
Because all problems, like you said, right? All problems are degrees to which they need to be solved, right? Not everything can be solved or should be solved for that matter. It's all comes down to where you get the ROI for it. Right?
Correct. As we move into the last 15 minutes of our discussion, a couple of trend-based questions. One you already brought up about the post-cookie world, and Amit would like to bring you in. Like, are you losing sleep about it? Is it forcing you to rethink your marketing strategy?
Yes and no. Like this is like an always on discussion internally as well, and something that I had mentioned in the like initial stage of this discussion as well. Like we deeply believe in the first-party data.
Correct.
It's a gold mine, and like again, the nature of business is such as in, like I can actually sell you 50 different things that will fit into your kitchen or dining, right? First-party data is gold mine, and what we have done over last year or so, like when the discussion started happening, is to focus on two things. One, email marketing is something that is working very well for us. We are like getting deeper into it, like trying to explore a lot of other possibilities. As I mentioned, there could be a handshake between, let's say, like the agent and the email, like what is the response of the user. That is something that we are working on. And second, again, like trying to establish meaningful partnership. Like one of the example was like even AirtelIQ for that matter. Like I spoke about we launching a lakh rupee machine. Like our AOV is around say 2400. Like the kitchen appliances will be like 2400, 3000 maybe. When we launched a Roti Magic, no one is going to search for a fully automatic roti maker, right? How often? No one knows actually the product exists. But that is when the meaningful partnership would come into picture. Like the moment, let's like we have certain data points, like we have our first party data.
Correct.
The moment we try and marry with, let's like partners from say Airtel for that matter, our targeting became sharper. Like we would know, like, so okay, like we have to build awareness for this. So we have to work on tofu for that matter, and there has to be some outbound communication. But then again, it's like when you have partners like say Airtel for that matter, like the communication is still, or like the targeting is much sharper. I know for the fact, like, okay, I have to, let's say, like send out certain SMSs, or like I need to, let's say, like create some WhatsApp sequences. I might as well, let's say, like reach out to people only from Better Road.
Correct.
Because that's where the buying power is, and that's where the ROI probably would lie. So that's how we have started working on. So to sum it up, like leveraging first party data, and like again, what we have realized is like we have website, but what we try and do is like we try and build a funnel every day. Like, get more people, get more and more exposure, try and leverage the brand saliency that we have, get more signups. That works. That is the engine for my email marketing program. And second, like we are always like scouting for partners who would actually add value in like what we do, like how we want to reach out to people.
Correct. The handshakes are important. Yeah.
I think and sticking to trends and first party data, right? And I'll use this example. Let's say you have a existing base of customers who've bought kitchen equipment from you, right? It'd be very interesting for you to know how big their kitchens are. So that you can go back and market, or let me go one step ahead. What price per square feet house do they live in? Yeah, so it could be very interesting to craft your re-engagement journeys, right? This is where there is value in two data points coming together. Yeah. I think the ecosystem also has to now get ready for the ability to engage two companies, first party data coming together, getting clean room tech, and a lot of co-marketing partnerships. I think we don't do that enough today. And we've realized this because a couple of years ago, we were actually 3 companies. So our broadband team, our DTH team, and our mobility teams are actually 3 different companies. They had different P&Ls. They didn't talk to each other. We had to create a data room for the 3 companies inside Airtel to figure out how to do this. Now, imagine how hard it is for 2 brands who can't talk to each other, or two companies who are far away from each other to do this. I think, so from a trend point of view, I think everyone building their first party data and having great clean room tech to bring this together is important. I don't think we have enough of that. I know all the cloud guys are doing this purely from increase my cloud usage. So Google and Amazon and Microsoft is going to come out with something, but it's purely from a cloud usage point of view. I think for all of us to come together on use cases and try this is also a thing that should happen, right?
Yeah, and the benefit extends to building great products also, right? So while you are looking at optimizing services, optimizing marketing channels, budgets, in our experience, some of the things that first party data has done is help us design great products, which is so if you're coming to me for just quote creation, selling insurance, I'm now looking at what are other requirements in your business that I can service, right? So now I have a store where I'm giving you merchandises, rich marketing material, and you pay for it. So now suddenly there's a new product, right? And there's another product which is you will lose your business to renewal lapses, right? I mean, insurance is the biggest problem, right? Renewal lapses, right? So we sort of take that service, right? So I'll call your customer, I will sort of do the renewal for you. And all of that, wouldn't be possible if I didn't create. And I saw a monetization of, opportunity, right? Mm-hmm. While it is very, very hard to get first party data, and you're right, I think we should look at more sources to build that information. Sometimes, of course, social network has sort of empowered some information through unstructured data, but there's smarter ways to build that, because mostly the relationship is transactional, right? So anything you want to know beyond the transaction, to profile him, to have the ability to offer something more in terms of service, products, this data sourcing is extremely crucial. So as an industry, if you're able to sort of collaborate in data sharing like this, it'll be a great direction also.
Great. This project.
We are very happy to do it.
Prajakta?
One, because we are the most scrutinized industry in terms of data.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever we build, we have to first protect ourselves.
Is it true that this co-marketing is already happening and it is at a very advanced stage? You book a flight at Indigo, just I'm putting a name Indigo, to Goa. The next day, IB will keep you sending, the best hotel in Goa, best hotel in Goa. Is it which is happening, data being shared and then?
It's happening in full swing. There's no doubt. The best part is that data is not being shared between a Make My Trip and a Booking.com. Yep. It is a display network targeting you for both. So theoretically, there is no data share, but of course your pattern is understood. A display network knows that you've actually completed your goal. We all do this, right? We set goals on our websites, and the marketing tech knows that you've completed a goal. They know where the goal is completed. We know this, for example. I know when you go to Make My Trip and you get a message from your bank saying a transaction has happened. Right? So it's the ability for a platform to attribute this information back and reuse this to market something else. I think co-marketing, there is another breed of co-marketing that can work, and we did this with HDFC, I think, about 4 years ago. We created a very interesting life insurance product with our telco recharge. So HDFC did most of the heavy lifting. They actually created a 28-day premium. So because we have a 28-day recharge on the phone, and if you don't recharge, your phone stops working. The life insurance piggybacked on it, saying if you pay us instead of 250, 300 rupees, we'll also give you a life insurance cover. And by the way, you will keep renewing it, because the biggest challenge that the life insurance company had at that point of time was, listen, we can't take monthly premiums. It's just too risky for us, right? So we would love to take 20-year premium from you, but nobody would pay that much, right? So we built a product, coming back to your point, saying, how do we look at data? How do we look at cohorts of customers on Airtel? Come up with a group insurance to mitigate the entire risk, and GTM this product together. So that's another element that we don't do enough. At least we don't do enough, for sure.
I think you have DMPs which actually do that. But yeah, I mean, there are DMPs which can enable you to do that. But how do you market to them finally? That's, I think, the challenge.
Two different things, right? One is like a DMP. A DMP can typically track you across this thing because there's the display network. But then I think the topic where it started is data syndication happening? Like are two companies getting together and sharing?
Yeah.
And we were talking about this earlier, right? So that's syndicate.
Should not be sharing.
It shouldn't be. I mean, in theory, they wouldn't, right? So.
I think the hashes of that, though, that there is some way of at least identifying indicators. You will not get the same customer, but you will know how over-indexed he is on a particular lifestyle trend. I mean, more or less. Still better than nothing is the way.
Planning, decisioning, of course. I mean, for all of us, let's say all of us come together and help each other plan, we can do that. And that's without any data share. Right? We can almost look at aggregates, or we can look at some technology where all of us can dip in and come out with aggregates to understand planning. I think point-to-point marketing is the one which is more interesting.
Mm-hmm.
That's a harder problem to solve.
I have a couple of points to add. Actually, while I was listening to all of you, I was making notes.
Please.
So on the marketing mix side, right, which Nazif, you and Deepak, you mentioned, typically with companies, they have a budget and then they build their plans and then they go live, right? And then as you mentioned, like we all know, like at some point marketing attribution was a myth, right? Like we all were saying that, hey, a consumer came from an X source, might have seen or have been influenced by Y source or Z source, right? So the only line item that I want to add on the marketing mix is we should definitely look at the size and is it the right time for that company to spend on, additional aspects or channels of marketing, because it may soon happen that if you keep spending on channels which you need in future, you will soon, start scaling down your business because you may not have money to run your operations, right? So it is mainly how your company is right now and what stage it is at. So that's on the marketing mix. That was my point of view. I may be wrong. On the challenges that you mentioned about performance marketing, right? I think PW is not a great, talking from PW standpoint or PW, lens. I don't think Google or Facebook like us a lot because we don't do a lot of paid via them, right? And with other affiliate partners or other partners that we have, may it be influencer marketing or may it be another channel, we mainly work on the CPFT model only.
Okay.
Right? And somehow I personally hate giving monies to Google and Facebook on not delivering on transactions. So I think as an industry, if they can also move to the CPFT model, I think that would make things easier for advertisers. And in terms of engagement, while you all were talking about, sharing that right or ensuring that, there's marketing happening, right? One point that I have on that is how many of us actually, read or go through all our notifications that we get on a daily basis? How many of us do that? Anyone? No one, right? The reason for that is we just keep, swiping right and left just to ensure that doesn't happen. Typically with my team, when my CRM team, my communication teams comes to me with their report saying, hey, we've received a 0.10% conversion on the segment that we targeted communication. And they're very happy because industry-wise, those percentages might be great, right? But then my counter question to them usually is, was your communication irrelevant to 99.90% of those students because they've not converted? Or was the time not right enough, right? So we should, as marketers or as leaders with big corporations, also think of that, hey, whatever we are sending, now that we have all that ability to send, are we sending the right communication? Are we doing it at the right time? Is it required? Should we be happy with that 0.1% conversion? Should we not ask ourselves questions in terms of, was it relevant to the rest 99% of them, right? So I think just thought of putting it out there.
Great. Yeah, that was sort of a great sum up. Yes, please go ahead, Mr. Sengupta.
So I think I would take what Sanket is telling and then see, I'm an old school marketer. Okay. And at some point of time, there was a kind of data darkness, data blindness. But now I would say the situation is more of blinded by the data.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there is a zeal to use that data, okay, irrespective of what happens. Like your topic is serve to sell, powering growth with relevant audience. But what I see is that it's more of spam to sell and then silent after sales. Okay. So if I do see the anecdotal experiences, what Dharmender is talking about, there are two polar apart experiences, but in one case it was silence after sales. So what is happening actually? In my mind, there is, at one side you are blinded by data, one side you are trying to use the data in multiple ways, and then there is a zeal to use the data. Second, I see and in the process, there is sheer wastage, which he's talking about. We're happy with 0.1% conversion, okay? And the rest 99.9 is a sheer wastage of resources and money. The third thing which I'm seeing is that if I'm not relevant, it's a nice topic, the powering growth with relevant audiences. But am I also relevant as a service or a product? I think we are not asking that question, that, okay, am I also relevant? And if you see that, okay, and then we are talking about performance metrics, and there are a number of markers which you can pick up, NPS score, CAs, and other things. But what do they measure? Because in terms of, there's a McKinsey report on there's a gentleman called David Coate, which said that of the 100 people you sell and 100 people you administer the survey, only 7% response. Out of that 7% response, you are creating your performance management scores and other things. Okay. So the 93% are not responding. You don't know what they're thinking. And finally, when you say that serve to sell is something, and if I look at the entire process, it's a culmination of multiple things as an organization, what we are doing. It's the penny drop moment for the organization, it's the penny drop moment for the consumer.
Correct.
And at an organizational level, you can do multiple things, like you can manufacture, you can create product, you can create QC, you can do the supply chain. But the sale is not your action. The sale is a dependent action. Somebody needs to buy you, and then only that sale is going to happen. Okay. So when you say colloquially that I'm unable to sell, you actually cannot sell, because sale is as an outcome of certain things which you are doing. And if I take it forward, like when that sales happen, and then after that there is a part like the product experience, and then the repeatability of the product, sticking with the product, and all these things. What we are missing is that, okay, with too much of data, is that we are not humanizing the data. I think there is a need to humanize the data, because ultimately a human being is buying it, be it B2B, be it B2C.
Correct.
And that's where I think the entire crux of the matter is missing. So there are a lot of data marketing, tech marketing are happening, okay, but they are enablers.
Correct.
Unless and until you humanize the data, it will not take you to that level where actually at some point of time you will be irrelevant.
Correct.
So I think that's where the crux of the matter, that as a marketeer, how can I humanize the data? You create a picture around the data, and then only you can take an action around that data. Just a raw data analyzed will take you to some point, but it will not take you to a long-term growth path.
Correct. You know, the best part of having an interesting panel is diverse opinion, and then the challenging part is that we can run out of time very before we even realize, and that's what has happened with me. But one last question to all of you before we end, and it's like a one-liner. List one challenge and one opportunity that you are looking at 2023. Amit, we'll start with you.
So look, I think marketing is all about two things. Either it is like driving some change, like making some change happen, or it is helping, like it's about resolving some conflict, some issue with the customer. So relevancy, I believe, like it's the opportunity as well as challenge. Like people spoke about being relevant in terms of targeting. But Mr. Sengupta also raised a point. It's about like being relevant as a brand as well as a service as well. Like, so I believe ensuring like you stay relevant in terms of everything that you, in terms of your offering, in terms of your targeting, how you are reaching out to people, be the opportunity as well as challenge.
Correct. Francis, 2023, a challenge and an opportunity that you stare at.
Sure. So I think challenges, with it's one of the industries where with COVID going away, people have generally basically believed that if COVID couldn't kill me, nothing will. Right? So the natural sort of traffic and organic traffic, etc., for insurance has come down. So while you kind of doing that in a cost optimized fashion to get your paid marketing to give you the same or similar yield.
Correct.
And that makes, I think that's a challenge that faces a lot of insurers, especially on the core product, which is term insurance. And I think the opportunity for us, at least what we're trying to do is, tie or stitch together a lot of our online and offline data. And that should kind of, bring a lot more insights through the customer CDP and things that we're trying.
Correct. Nazif.
Yeah. So I think in terms of, I'll start with the challenge. I think what Francis said exactly is the challenge, which is, and what Deepak also mentioned, right, which is that advertising costs going up, media costs going up. I think that's a challenge. There was a very sweet period during COVID, which was bad for, it was terrible for the world. But for marketers, it was a good thing, right? Because digital marketing costs just plummeted like amazingly well. And then now they've seen like a sudden spike up over the last 2 years. So I think that's a challenge. Managing, with that, I think is this thing. The opportunity though is, eventually we are here to fulfill what someone wants to anyway do.
Correct.
Right. We are here to enable it for the most part, not to sell. And I think the more relevant you are, not just in what your product is, but how you're communicating that. I think if those two levers are focused on, that I think makes a world of difference. And to me, the most satisfying thing is seeing smaller cohorts driving insanely high conversion numbers. That to me gives me a delight. It doesn't add as much to revenue, but I know that this is a beautiful campaign which worked. And at some level, there's a joy to that, watching data, kind of show you that. So to me, those are the opportunities, and you get a large bunch of these together, you will have your revenue targets also met.
Great. Sujay?
For us, I think, while all of this is, true, but I also feel in 2023, focus is going to be a big challenge for, all of us. I guess, with the proliferation of platforms, with the proliferation of, the ability or the complex journeys that the consumers are going through, to be able to map it, crunch as much data as you can, and then be able to kind of speak to the consumer in relevant manner on various touch points on their journeys. How much will you as a person or as a team actually, run behind, go behind, and focus your energies on what works for you, what doesn't work for you is going to be a huge challenge in my opinion. It's going to be very difficult to actually, put your hand and put your finger on. For us, from an opportunity point of view, specifically for our business, professional wealth management for that matter is just a fledgling within the BFSI category, right? I mean, for us, insurance for us, mutual funds for us, securities for us. Only I think 3% of, if I'm not wrong, sub 10%, sub 5% of the country actually trades in equity today. For us, it's a huge opportunity to actually, get people into organized, creation and managing of wealth. For us, that's a huge opportunity. Now, whether, we use data or we kind of use a right media mix to actually create a think and create a, slightly broader up the funnel kind of an opportunity for ourselves to actually get people more into the funnel. That's an opportunity for us. And what we can do with data, even at the upper end of the funnel, is actually important.
Great. Prajakta?
Challenge in our industry, in beauty industry, two main challenges are competition.
Mhm.
Like it's heavy, it's bad, it's worse, and discounts.
Okay.
Cannot fight discounts. I mean, the more discounts you give, the more females go crazy,
Mhm.
and the more you can't stop them from buying, and also from buying from any of the brands, right? That's very difficult to manage because we were even at MyGlam, we were at a discount of 70% in 2021. From coming to that to 50% today was a challenge, but still we were able to do it.
Mhm.
But it's still a challenge. 50% is still high, right?
Mhm.
At all times, and these are all BAU days, right? So competition, second thing, right? Too many, and because COVID happened, and everyone is online right now. Every other brand is online right now. Therefore, that has become like. The other day I was reading Foxtail, raised funding. Rene today raised funding. So I'm like, okay, this is going to happen continuously. So that's a challenge. And then I would come to opportunity. I think shifting from traditional marketing like TV marketing to CTV.
Mhm.
Right? That I think is a huge opportunity. We tested an experiment, and it's an ongoing experiment that we are doing. And CTV has actually given us an incremental ROAS, although that shouldn't be measured. But still, it is giving us a very good, results. Even if I compare, because traditional I can't measure apart from GRPs and
Correct.
all of that, and still can't be trusted. Okay, am I getting downloads? Am I getting at least PDP visits? But I don't know about that. But at least on CTV, that's kind of measurable, and it's kind of. Not an exact apple to apple, but at least on digital, you're reaching the right audience, you're reaching everyone. So that's a huge opportunity, I think.
CTV, great. Abhishek will come back to you and sum up with you. Vignesh.
I think we should give them the opportunity.
Sure. Sanket.
Kind enough of you. All right. For me, or for our industry, I think especially my challenge and my opportunity are same. My opportunity is basically opportunity to grow and scale, because given the market size and the demand, there's massive opportunity to scale and grow. In fact, in the last 6 months, all we've been doing is launching new categories and opening up new businesses. Just gone crazy, and we have a couple of them also coming up in the next 2 months, right? And this is purely driven by student demand, which gives us a huge opportunity to grow and ensure that we fulfill the requests that are coming in from students. The challenge that I see on this one is maintaining that same quality and ensuring that we deliver more than what is expected, because demand keeps increasing. And with the demand, if you can't cope up, then it's about his or her career, right, that you're dealing with. So the challenge which comes with that is, can we ensure that we deliver at either same quality or higher, aiming at higher. So yeah, those are the two things which I feel will drive for PW.
Great. Deepak, from product point of view at Paperfry, one challenge and opportunity that you see at 2023.
I think the biggest one is what I spoke about, which is the cookie death, right? So third-party cookies going away. I think we'll be kind of stuck with kind of forced to work with I use the example of walled gardens like Google, Facebook, and stuck with whatever analytics and this we need to do, right? And I think in the same breath, I think what will also happen is that we'll have to adapt to a new way of attribution, which will be kind of hard to kind of sell and get. There'll be large companies, like I said, telcos. Obviously, I think it'll be like a fantastic time for telcos, especially because you guys are sitting on the largest data set in the country, right? So I think there's an equal part in terms of challenge that I see there for small companies. I think Sanket kind of mentioned, right? When you're small, you really don't have the ability to. So that's the problem. The opportunity is when you're a small company, you don't have the ability to crunch data. You don't have the capability to kind of glean insights. You rely on display networks to kind of figure out, hey, look, there's this cohort or this persona that is likely to kind of buy this, and you rely on them to kind of do a lot of the heavy lifting for you. So that in my mind is the opportunity. I think one thing that I'm kind of seeing of late is that there's a lot more democratization in terms of the ability to kind of crunch data, right? A lot more companies are coming with the service model where they can kind of they let companies quickly move forward on that. So I think that is something that I'm excited for, because that with this cookie death, I think the first party data will become king. I think just kind of giving people the ability to kind of do that, and then kind of how we leverage first party data responsibly. I think that's something that I see as an opportunity for us.
Great, Kapil.
Yeah. So challenge I do think is getting confused in marketing and sales.
Okay.
That's what I post COVID. So much dependency on digital marketing, views, visitors, impressions, engagement has created some kind of illusion that we are best. But I think the human touch we have been missing, and the sales is getting impacted. That's what I do feel. And lot of data now is with you, right? You never had that kind of data of your customers, the people who are visiting you. Now how you prioritize that, how you segment that, how you focus that becomes challenge. If you have 1 million visitors on your website, having that data looks very fancy, but how do you target them, right? You need to build a lot of back office operations team if you are really thinking those are the customer for us, right? So that's point one. That's the challenge which we need to we need to create the balance in between visibility, marketing, and the client acquisition. I think somehow we are getting confused, my understanding. And on the opportunities, we do operate into agriculture, and the 65% people are agree, but largely in tier 2, tier 3, and maybe the rural, the remote areas. Accessibility to that was very difficult, and especially for an exchange. We do cover the pan India. There is no defined customer for us. Every farmer is a customer for us by the concept what we do sell. With the digitalization, I think that makes us capable to go there, right, and covering the pan India with the new age marketing. And yes, that there is a challenge to create right content for them, multiple languages, various areas, various demographics and everything. But I think there's a huge opportunity for us going to that areas, getting customers from the last corner of the country.
Great. Suraj, from Kisht point of view, one challenge and one opportunity.
As Supratik rightly mentioned, too much of spamming during sales and silent after sales is something that I think we personally need to solve, because of course we are very much proactive when it comes to customer services. So we have different channels and we ensure that every query is solved within 48 hours maximum, no going beyond that. But when it comes to repeat, I think after sales is something that needs to be much more stronger. So customer service is just that someone has come to you, but after sales is not someone coming to you, you going to them to know how you can improve yourself. So that is something that that's a challenge that needs to be solved. And I think one opportunity is a lot of companies have tried this referral thing that give you referrals against cashbacks, but I don't think that has worked very well. On the flip side, I've seen that customers who are happy tend to give better referrals and more quality referrals. So that's one opportunity that I'm looking to tap this year, so that especially through social media and through other channels, wherein the happy customers can be tapped to give better quality referrals and increasing that referral rate.
Correct. Mr. Naran, one challenge and one opportunity.
If we talk about opportunity and challenges, a challenge is very clear because creating digitalized personalization is still a challenge in our industry. Because that can give you a lot of leeway and a lot of penetration. Because today reachability is through mobile channel only. If you look at, especially after COVID, we have seen the marked change from using the mobile than physical. We have completely moved to that direction. So it is very important to create that personalization, which is currently, I think, lacking a lot. But opportunity, as Suraj already pointed out, today we have hardly 7% penetration in terms of investors or people investing in security market.
Correct.
And if you look at dollar market, they're around 40 to 50% or more than that. So the huge opportunity is there, but you can't get the penetration till the time you are able to reach them, you are able to convert them. So that is where the whole personalization will come into picture.
Yeah, the headroom for growth is the biggest opportunity. Chand?
Yeah, so I think for us, in 2023, I think one of the challenges is optimizing the time resource, right? I think, as you deploy a lot of teams to do a lot of activities that may not sort of look at the same ROI. We measure ROI in terms of, the investment you've made, monetary investment you've made, but you barely sort of look at the time investment, your teams are making to optimize the returns. So I think this year I definitely want to, because that's so elastic, there's so much opportunity. The more intelligent stuff you do, your growth charts could look phenomenal. So I think that is something that I'm definitely sort of looking to improvise on. One of the opportunities I see is to make first-party data more, accessible or contextual to everyday life, right? I think that currently we're sort of looking at doing that more infrequently, right? When we do brand campaigns or, when we do qualitative researches, I think we need to sort of, I see an opportunity to make use of that, and maybe systematically sort of contextualize it to building great decisions, across all the touch points that we have, right? So, and that, interestingly helps many verticals, right? So I think that is an opportunity that will empower every department to make better decisions. So we want to sort of, internalize that piece of information at a frequent periodic intervals.
Great. Over to you, Abhishek. You can sum it up for us.
I think for me and also for our industry, right? Data regulation around data and the governance laws they're going to hit us this 2023. I think that's going to be a big change. It's going to be a change logistically because the way we store, keep, use data could change theoretically. And it could also have a lot of impact in the ecosystem. So one is, cookies going away, as you said, is great for us. We have a lot of first-party data. But if the government doesn't allow us to use it, it doesn't help the ecosystem at all, right? So I think that's something that we are working on. I think the government is also thinking about how to make it easy as well as privacy safe. So consent-led privacy is important. I think this year we'll see a lot of change. So I'm anxious about it. I'm not saying it's not going to work, but it's a point that keeps me anxious. I think from an opportunity point of view, both contactability, omni-channel contactability is going to do well. I think to the point that all of you made about over spamming, it actually brings down contactability. Right? Today we started ignoring our SMS inbox because it's full of spam. Yeah. With the current trend, I think WhatsApp will get there faster. With the way that all of us are consuming WhatsApp today, it'll get there, right? So I think both ecosystem as well as the marketers are going to look at how to improve contactability this year, and I think it'll work both ways. It'll be better for the customer eventually. And the last, personalization will be the front runner. I think all of us will be pushed towards personalization, whether it is, to the topic here and when I was thinking of the topic, it was more about how do you use your own base to actually serve them first and then make them ready or create their opportunity to sell, right? So I think all of us will spend more and more time on doing that. And I understand the idea about small, medium, big companies because the relevance is of course larger, right? And the media mix is different for large companies versus small companies, but I think personalization will still work. And we will go into details of when should I call a customer with what, not just use phone as a channel, right? And I think that will be a pleasant thing to see in the next year.
One point on this, Abhishek, actually, personalization for that matter, to the last mile, and we were talking about this earlier, it's expensive to kind of get onto, and maybe we'll be better in the coming year if at all there is a way to kind of manage that. But in the past, there are some instances where we've kind of done some sort of broad personalization, if I may put it that way, at scale. And that actually is far more meaningful, where we are able to kind of, reach the customer in the right mind frame to give the right product. Okay, and that at a personalized level works or has worked for us much better, even though it wasn't like personalized to the T, right? And it has also been effective and efficient. And maybe that's an opportunity in the coming year as well.
On behalf of BrandEquity, Airtel Ads, and AirtelIQ, thank you very much for joining us here today. You've been a lovely panelist.
Thank you.